This podcast is part of the C-Suite Radio Network, turning the volume up on business.
Hey everybody, it's Chris Kirkpatrick and welcome to the Executive Job Search Secrets Podcast. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the number one reason you're struggling with your job search. We all know most executive level positions are not posted or advertised. So the big question is this: if those 100K plus jobs are not posted or advertised, how do you go about your job search in a way so you can find the right companies, connect with the right people, and land your next ideal opportunity as quickly as possible and without compromise? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Chris Kirkpatrick, and welcome to Executive Job Search Secrets. Okay, so this is a fun topic for me. It's probably one of the most common topics that I talk with people about. In Career Next, when we work with clients and just the job seekers that we assist in general, there's a very common theme amongst them, and that is most people think that to have a successful job search, you go out, you put your resume together, you try to get that resume in front of as many recruiters, as many job postings as possible, and you just kind of blast it out there. You spend a lot of time on job boards. Maybe you work out with your network, or you reach out to your network. You blast your resume around LinkedIn to all your key contacts that you think people that may be willing to help you out, and then you kind of hope for the best. And there's a problem with this. It's a very self-serving way of going about things. If you've listened to any of my other episodes of this, you understand that that's absolutely the wrong way to do things. But I don't want to stay on that topic too much. Where I want to go with this is really explaining why we have our 5-step process. Now, our 5-step process starts with seeking clarity. And I will say this to you: the number one reason that you are struggling with your job search is that you do not have the clarity that you need to be an effective job seeker, to be an effective solutions provider for people, right? So think about it this way. We start with clarity rather than starting with your resume, which is what most people do because they feel like it's doing something and it's being productive and it's being active, and you're getting momentum by getting your resume done so you can get it out there and start networking or talking to people or submitting your resume to job postings or what have you. The reality is, if you do this before you have complete clarity about who you are, what you do, why you do it, the problems that you solve, because remember this: every company is hiring for one reason and one reason only. They are looking to solve a problem. Now, that problem can be a good thing. It can be they're growing and they're looking to somebody to help them grow, in the most effective way. They're entering uncharted territories, and so maybe they're looking to bring somebody in who's had that experience and that scope of industry knowledge that maybe nobody in the organization has at this point in time. Or they're looking for somebody who can be a problem solver. Maybe that problem for them is they're losing revenue, they're not being efficient, they have supply chain issues, whatever it may be, they're looking for somebody to be that solutions provider for them. But either way, both of those are problems. One's a more positive twist to it, one's a more negative twist, but at the end of the day, they're problems. So you hear me say it all the time. If you listen to this or if you've read my book, you understand that you have to be a solutions provider, and no company is going to hire you. They're going to invest in you. So it's your job. Your job search is simply a sales job. You are the number one sales person for selling the product of you, the business of you. And you have to go out there and you have to be 100% clear about who you are, the problems that you solve, the people you solve those problems for, and then you need to be able to clearly communicate and articulate how you can solve that problem for said company or individual, if it's a specific decision maker that you're communicating or networking with, right? And so think about it this way. If you just hop in and you just blast your resume out without thinking about, what are you really looking to do? What problems are you really looking to solve? Because like all marketing, I'll tell you this, marketing is based on targeting. Your ability to target the right people is going to be based on your clarity of what you have to offer. I don't care if you're selling yourself in the job market or if you're selling a widget, online through Facebook ads or through Google ads or whatever. You have to be able to target who your consumer is, so then you can build the messaging around solving the problem for that person. It is all the same thing. The principles do not change. It does not matter if you're an entry-level job seeker, if you are an executive looking to take over and run the direction of a company, or if you are a online retailer selling some widget on Facebook. It doesn't matter. Those principles never change. And so you need to understand that you have to get that clarity. And once you have that clarity, are you able to build in your resume? Only then can you build and create your resume. Can you create what we call your executive pro forma? Only then are you able to effectively create a properly, pattern interrupting cover letter to people. And so those are things that you want to keep in mind. Now, also targeting. One of the biggest challenges that I hear from job seekers, is that if I could just get in front of the right person, I feel like I could sell myself. I just don't know how to get in front of those right people, right? And once again, that just comes down to clarity. Because if you're not 100% clear on yourself, if you're not clear on the organizations that you would find that you would be a great fit for, then how are you going to go out and find companies that are like those companies? How are you able to do the research and target those companies and find the key decision makers? You're going to constantly be struggling, and you're going to find yourself in much more of a reactive process. And that's why we have a 5-step process, and you cannot skip those 5 steps. And I will just run through them really quickly, and I implore you to write this down if you're not driving, and to actually take notes and say, okay, I'm going to try to implement some element of this process or some facet of this process into my job search. So number 1 is you need to seek clarity. Take the time, figure out the clarity around who you are, what you do. That's why every client we have come on board, we have them fill out what we call a career vision and branding map, because it's literally 29 questions walking through all that clarity, right? And helping develop and build out that clarity. The second step is once you have that clarity, you can create your marketing documentation, because you are clear about the companies that the overall industry or the spectrum of the organizations that you're looking to sell yourself to, so you can really dial in your message to be relevant to those people. Step 3 is that you're going to target and identify key companies or targeted companies and key decision makers inside of those organizations, right? Now, once again, you don't want to target them and reach out to them until you have all the other stuff, step 1 and 2 done, right? Because if you do that preemptively, then you're probably going to lose opportunity, because your message is going to be diluted. It's not going to be focused. It's not going to be clear. And remember, a confused mind always says no. And so it's your job to build this story about why you are that right person for them. And so step 3 is reaching out and connecting with them or building a list and doing the research and targeting them. And don't reach out to them right away. Build a list, build a sales list. Remember, this is a sales job, so you want to build a list of prospects like you would like a salesperson would. And I know a lot of people listening to this are salespeople, so that makes all the sense in the world, and you can hit the ground running and implement that. And other people are not salespeople by nature. They never wanted to be in the sales industry. You don't really like talking to people too much. And, for those of you that kind of fall into that camp, it's okay. You don't have to stress about it. You don't have to go about this like a salesperson. You're not really having to sell anything. Money follows value, remember? And so just put yourself out there to help people. And if you focus on just helping people and not selling yourself, people are going to want to buy you because of the nature of the problems that you help them solve in helping them. And that's going to create curiosity for them. And remember, this is a marketing campaign. A job-seeking campaign, when done effectively and properly, is essentially a marketing campaign. And if you go down to the core, this is my background, is branding and marketing. The core of all good branding and marketing is creating curiosity, right? So every communication that you have with somebody is creating curiosity. And that's where we get into step 4, which is connecting and cultivating relationships with those people that you have on your list in step 3 during the research of the target companies and the key decision makers. So you're going to then want to connect with those key decision makers and cultivate relationships with them. There's all sorts of different ways you can do this. I'm not going to get into this topic in depth on this podcast because it will become a very long episode. But you can read about it in depth in my book. I'll put a link at the end of the podcast here so you can get access. I'll give you a free copy of the book. I think it's something that the book will make a huge impact in everybody's job search. You do that. And then after connecting and cultivating relationships, remember, people hire people they know, like, and trust. The first phase of that is they got to know you, then they got to like you, then they got to trust you. And consistent engagement with them is going to build that trust factor. And that will open up opportunities where people will invite you to have a conversation with them, and that will lead to interviews, right? It'll be informal at first. It will become more formal as the relationship develops. And then by the time you actually get to the offer stage, you're going to, the step 5 is interview, negotiate, and close, right? So you have to know how to prepare for the interview, crush the interview, negotiate for your salary, and ultimately close the position as at your maximum value possible for what you're doing. Because remember, if they're investing in you and not hiring you, you're approaching this from a much greater position of power. And it's extremely important to understand that. And so anyway, that is today's episode. Just remember, it all starts with clarity. Every person out of the hundreds of people I talk to, I feel like every month, and our team talks to every month, it's one of those things where people typically like to skip the clarity section because they just want to feel like they get momentum and they get movement. And reality is, in this scenario, it's better to hit the pause button. It's better to take a step back and slow down to get clarity so you can move faster. Start slower and then move faster, right? Versus starting like you're shooting out of the gun like a rocket on fire and then just burning out really quickly and then having no results and not knowing what to do after that. And then, burning through your list, burning through all potential contacts and prospects. That way, when you finally get it right, you feel awkward about reaching out to them again after the fact. Now, if that is you, if you did fall into that, there are ways, we have strategies to kind of navigate those waters, so to speak. But obviously it's not ideal, right? Like, you don't want to have to do that if you don't have to. So it's better off to start it right. And in a world right now where we got 40 million people unemployed and you have less and less jobs available, it's becoming more and more competitive. So your ability to do all these things and have clarity and be able to communicate that is going to separate you from the pack. I mean, people are getting hired every single day still. So the market is okay for those that differentiate themselves. For those who just kind of show up to work and drone out and do their job like a robot and don't have the passion and don't have a why behind what they're doing and aren't able to clearly communicate and articulate the value of how they're a great investment for a company, those are the people that don't do that are going to struggle. So don't let that be you. Go out and crush it. I hope you have a blessed, inspirational day. I will talk to you on the next podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you were able to find some value in this episode. And I'm so excited to announce that I just launched my first book, Executive Job Search Secrets. You can get your copy for $19.99 going over to Amazon.com right now. Or, because of everything that's happening in the world right now with COVID, all the uncertainty, the high unemployment rates, I've actually purchased 1,000 copies of this book, and I'm going to send a copy to the first 1,000 people that want to take advantage of this free offer. I'm on a mission to help people get positive results in their job search, and I know that the information in this book will make a positive impact in your life. So with that, I've ordered 1,000 copies. I've paid for them. I want to send a free copy to everybody that wants to take advantage of this offer. All I ask of you is to cover the $8.95 for shipping and handling, and I will do the rest. I will get a copy right out to you in the mail as quickly as possible. All you have to do is go to executivejobsearchsecrets.com, enter your information, click the button, and I will send it right out to you. And I hope you have the best of luck with your search. Go out and crush it, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Like what you just heard? Visit c-suiteradio.com. C-Suite Radio, turning the volume up on business.